So I'm going to present a little bit. I cannot give you so many details about the actual product in Europe, but where it is, because some of it is confidential for good reasons. But I'll do my best. These slides are obviously copyrighted, but you're happy to. I'm happy that you, if you share them with the audience afterwards, I have no problem in that. There's no confidential information in here. So as you rightly said, started out, Tony, here in March, the US FDA approved diazoxide choline, or VYKAT, for hyperphagia in prader-willi. And it is really something new since growth hormone many years back. If we look at how things looks in Europe, I would say that we expect to see an application for marketing authorization. I cannot confirm whether we have received it or not, but my expectation is certainly that we will see one, and my expectation is also that we will see one rather sooner than later. The product itself has what is called orphan status, and I'll come back in my presentation on what orphan status is meant in Europe. It also have an orphan status in US, but it's fundamentally about being recognized as a treatment for a rare disease. So what I'm going to do here is giving you a more general overview on how the regulatory approval process looks in Europe for an orphan product. That could be VYKAT. So it will give you an idea of the type of experts getting involved, the regulatory system, how it works, and at least to give you a flavor also around timelines. When could we expect that a product like this, let's say that the application came in today, when could we expect an outcome of the European review process? Another important thing, and I didn't put anything in details on the slides here, is that the European Medicines Agency will be responsible for reviewing a product like VYKAT, and should the benefit risk be positive, we will issue a marketing authorization. Or technically, the European Commission will issue a marketing authorization that is then valid in all 27 EU member states, plus Norway and Iceland and Liechtenstein. But what we are not involved in, and that's important, is any discussions on pricing and reimbursement, because that left for the individual 27 plus member states to discuss that. And I guess you are aware that pricing and reimbursement discussion is actually sometimes an Achilles heel to actually enable products availability for patients. So in Europe, we have different ways of bringing products to the market, and applicants, so that is pharmaceutical companies, they can fundamentally go to each and every member states in Europe and ask them individually for review and an approval. That's a cumbersome process, despite there's a lot of collaboration. But there is also the so-called centralized procedure where you submit your application in one place. That's to us, the European Medicines Agency, located here in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. And then we take care of the review process. And as said, the outcome of the review process, if positive, is a marketing authorization that is valid in all 27 member states. And there are many specific reasons to use this. As I said, one application. So for the applicant, for the company, they only have to apply in one place. There's only one evaluation. So the evaluation carried out by EMA and its scientific committees, and you will get one marketing authorization with one or more trade names, most likely VYKAT in this example, and that will be the one you can use across Europe. The centralized procedure is reserved for innovative products. It's mandatory for some products. The opinion is not delivered by EMA itself. It's not delivered by my colleagues, but it's delivered by a scientific committee that I'll come back to, but it fundamentally consists of experts from all 27 member states. So you have the member states in here providing the scientific expertise, and the technical, more legal part of it, getting the authorization, is the European Commission that issues this in the end. And sorry for this build slide here. These are the these are the products that fall under the centralized procedure. And I won't dwell into all the details. There are a lot of therapeutic specific areas where if you have a product, let's say for cancer, that's the big one, all cancer products have to be approved via the centralized procedure. You cannot get a cancer product on one single market in EU by going to, let's say, the Dutch authorities, the German authorities. It always have to go here. And the same holds for what I highlighted here, orphan medicines. And VYKAT is an orphan medicinal product, so they will have to utilize the centralized procedure, which also makes sense that we are talking about a rare condition with a few patients in each member state, that we do this in a collaborative manner on a pan-EU level. The way it works, and I won't dwell with all the issues, we got 7 scientific committees currently. Some of you might know that the pharma legislation is up for review here in Europe, but fundamentally, it may look different in a couple of years, but currently we have 7 committees. Only 5 of them are mentioned on this slide, and the 2 first and more foremost interesting committees for a product like VYKAT would be the CHMP, so the Committee for Human Medicinal Product. That will be the committee where members will be reviewing a marketing authorization application, and they will draw on expertise from the COMP, the Committee for Orphan Medicinal Products, that originally gave the product its designation as an orphan product, meaning a product that can be used to treat an orphan disease. But the committee members are, of course, not working in isolation and doing this themselves. They are highly depending on also getting input from working parties, other experts. And these are comes from national authorities, but are experts. But I also want to highlight, and I didn't put that in writing on the slide here, which I apologize, we also use a lot of patient input. And I know that IPWSO is actually eligible as a patient organization for the European Medicines Agency. And if you're not already registered, you should do so. It will give you an opportunity to be consulted in any upcoming review process of a product like this. As said, this is under review. It may look differently, but fundamentally how it looks at the moment is at least we will retain the CHMP, so the committee that is going to do the scientific work. We will still need to be able to assess and assign orphan designation, but it might be done in a different way than having a committee with 27 member states, so maybe a more agile way moving into the future. So the orphan regulation in Europe is based, or actually founded on the idea of the US legislation. That's go way back beyond this one. So the idea is to create a system where you incentivize development of products for orphan diseases. And part of the incentives is, of course, financially, that you make it financeable, doable to do products for rare diseases where the market is obviously way smaller than if we're talking about antibiotics or treatment for cardiovascular diseases or any other major, more regular disease. There are specific criteria. I would not bother you with them today for being designated as an orphan medicinal product. The most important one is that you're a rare disease. The US defined rarity by how many citizens in the US have the disease. We in Europe define it by the prevalence, so the fraction of patients. So to be an orphan disease, the prevalence in Europe should be less than 5 in 10,000 or 1 in 2,000. And just to give you a flavor, most of you might know the disease cystic fibrosis. And cystic fibrosis is so frequent, but it's still, I was about to say it's the most frequent orphan disease. So anything, could you please mute yourself if you're not? Thank you. So if you're less common than cystic fibrosis as a disease in the European population, I think it's important to stress in the European population because there may be geographical variation. You will be eligible to an orphan designation in Europe. This is also under review. I don't think it looks like that you will change the fundamental requirement for whether you're an orphan or not, but the way we are going to deal with it from a more practical perspective will change. The companies who get a product designated as a potential product for treating an orphan disease, so that's something that happens early on in the development of products, they get fee reduction, so they don't have to pay, or they get fees at a reduced fee when they come to us for advice or when they apply for marketing authorization. But on the other end is that when they get authorized, they get 10 years market exclusivity. So they get the market for themselves. So they are the only one who can market and sell the product in Europe, unless someone else comes along with a total different product that is either better in terms of efficacy or more safe in terms of safety. So you actually get 10 years where you're the only one who can sell it, which of course have an impact on the price you set as a company, which goes back to what I started talking about, the challenges of getting reimbursement of your product. It's no secret that we have been talking to the developer of VYKAT, and I think they also announced this themselves on their website. So they have been here talking to us, so they already aware of the requirements we require. They've been here to have an orphan designation as well. So fundamentally, the next step for them would be to apply for a marketing authorization application. And the evaluation of the marketing authorization application in Europe goes in different steps. And I won't dwell with all the steps, but of course you have to do something before everything starts. You have to prepare your documentation, and the clock starts on day one. And the way we count days in Europe are the days we as regulatory authorities need to assess the product. We are counting calendar days and not work days. I used to joke that we are 27 member states, so if we had to exclude all the holidays, there will be no working days left, because each member state had different holidays across the year. So we decided to count on calendar days. So day one calendar day, there will be a primary evaluation of the product, and that will take up to 120 days. And at that point, the company will get a list, often a very long list of questions to address, where they will have to address whatever question comes up from the review. And the clock will stop and the company will respond to the questions. Typically, company responds within 1 to 3 months. So you have to add extra 30 to 90 days when we come to the end here. Then the clock starts again. It starts as day 121. So that single day is actually not taking care of what happened for the company in terms of timeline. There will be an assessment of the responses that takes us into day 180. There could be yet another clock stop to get further clarification on the questions, and then there will be a final evaluation resulting in an opinion after 210 calendar days on our end. So you have to add the clock stop time taken by the company to fulfill the question. There is an option to apply upfront for what is called accelerated assessment, which takes the first 180 days down to 150. So you will save a month roughly, but there are some requirements on the quality of your dossier. But many companies apply for this, many get a no, but it is an option. But again, we are talking about 1 month plus and minus calculating into this big table. And CD is a commission decision. And some of the things, as you can see here, the commission takes almost 2 months. What will be in the new revised legislation is that commission can do this quicker. So we can also work on squeezing down the timelines in Europe. How do Europe compare to other parts of the world? You can see the US FDA is definitely quicker than us. It's also a little bit comparing apples and oranges, because the FDA starts talking to the applicant early on, and they do some pre-assessment and okays part of the dossier before they start the clock. We start the clock at so-called a later stage. But as you can see, we are very consistent around these. And now you can say, hey, come on, guy, here's not 210 days. It says round about 400 days. But that's, of course, adding the extra days that the company needs to respond to the question, plus the days that the European Commission needs to issue the actual marketing authorization. So there is a lag time. Even though if the company had submitted at the same time in Europe and US, the marketing approval will come later in Europe. And now, as I said upfront, we haven't seen the application yet for this product. So the clock haven't started yet in Europe. The review by the CHMP is done what introduce you to two other important words here, namely the rapporteur and the co-rapporteur. And the way it works is that the rapporteurs are appointed among the CHMP members. So typically 2 different countries come forward with a full assessment team that can assess the pharmaceutical quality, the efficacy, the safety, those post-marketing monitoring plans for managing safety and so forth. Typically a group of 5 to 7 people from 2 different member states. They do an individual assessment, so-called blinded, and then the committee discusses these individual reports and comes up with an opinion. So the CHMP is guided and supported in their decision-making process by the review done. So the actual hard scientific review work is done by assessment teams among the members of the committee, but the discussion takes place in plenum at the CHMP meetings. And they, as I said, the rapporteur and the co-rapporteurs, they are the lead reviewers appointed on behalf of the entire committee. They draft assessment reports. They propose questions, both of them, which then are merged and discussed and weeded out and reformulated and so forth. And they also, of course, coordinate input from experts. And again, when I say experts here, patients are also experts in Europe because they are most likely the best experts on their own condition. So patients are very frequently, I would say not even frequently, they are consulted in each and every on our review processes. So the CHMP is the scientific committee that draws up the final opinion, also the intermediate opinions, and at the final end they draft the reasons. So they balance the pros and the cons, the benefits and the harms. And to get a positive opinion of the CHMP, the product needs to have more benefits than harms. So we often talk about benefit-risk balance here. And that balance will, of course, be depending on the disease you're going to treat. So for very life-threatening diseases, we will accept more risks if we also get more benefit. For more benign conditions, you can think about a simple headache. We will, of course, only accept that you get rid of the headache, but the risk of taking a pill against headache should be close to zero. So that's also an important discussion the committee will have in the context of the individual conditions. So technically, I think I said all this, the CHMP is consistent of experts from all 27 member states. They have a chair and a vice chair. They have some extra expert co-opted among them to reflect expertise that is not available from the 27 member states. And then they have all this expert community, and patients are part of the expert community. So the CHMP opinion, which could translate or later will be translated into a marketing authorization, is in many cases a consensus. I would say, I don't have the exact figures, but I would say a majority of the opinions that come out of CHMP is a consensus. No need for voting. If there are divergent views, there will be a voting, and you need to have a majority vote to get a positive and/or negative opinion. And if you, as a CHMP member, is divergent, so you're the minority, either minority positive in a negative opinion or the minority negative in a positive opinion, you get the opportunity to write down why you believe that you didn't vote, like your reasons for being either negative or positive, and that will actually be made public as part of the opinion that goes into the public part of this. I don't think I will dwell with all these different parts of the work for the CHMP. I think you can study this yourself. It's fairly evident. I would rather turn to transparency, because that's a very important part for the European agency, to be transparent about what is going on and how we make our opinion. So upon adoption of an opinion by the CHMP, it will come out in the highlight. The CHMP meets every month apart from August, where it's a summer holiday. So 11 times a year, there will be an announcement on the Friday of the CHMP week, and we will make public available in a layman language about what has happened in this meeting, what products has been given either a positive or negative opinion. And we will publish both the positive opinions, so those opinions that potentially could lead to a marketing authorization, but also the negative opinions that will not lead to a marketing authorization, but will open the opportunity, at least in the first round, for the company to apply for re-examination. So kind of second appeal, or kind of appeal review. But we will also publish withdrawn applications. So if the company midway in the evaluation process decides, oh, we don't think we want to have this product in Europe, or we think Europeans are too negative or too challenging, we withdraw our product, we will publish the assessment reports to the state where the company withdraw. So it will be public available to see how was the view of the CHMP when this process ended prematurely. We will publish our EPAR, and EPAR stands for European Public Assessment Report. It will be published as soon as the Commission has turned the decision by the committee into either a marketing authorization or have rejected the marketing authorization if it was a negative opinion by the CHMP. We will also publish new safety issues. We will publish if with a product loses its marketing authorization or is withdrawn from the market, also when products get withdrawn for commercial reasons by the applicant.
Steffen, if you could wind up.
Now, yeah, this is my last slide, so it's very timely. Thank you, Tony. The public assessment report, and you can find them all on our website, includes information on our product, the approved product information, so the correct use of the product, indications, contraindications, known adverse events, guidance to the prescriber how to use the product. If there are any conditions linked to the product in terms of specific safety monitoring, so forth. And then you can read the entire scientific discussion that CHMP had. What were the benefits considered? What were the side effects considered? How did the CHMP reach the conclusion that this product should or shouldn't be approved in Europe? And any post-authorization procedures will be added to the EPAR, which fundamentally will be a living document. So thank you for listening to me. I'm definitely open to questions at this stage, or write to me afterwards if you like. Thank you.